This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 347, and today's guest is Jeff Garner. Jeff is a St. Louis-based real estate investor and a buddy of mine that started off as a real estate agent. Now, after seeing his investor clients making a lot more money on deals than he was getting paid as an agent, Jeff jumped into the investing game quite a few years ago now and has gone on to do a ton of transactions. If you happen to be a realtor, but you're not taking advantage of the opportunities on the investing side of the business, or you're trying, but you're just not gaining traction, or you have these fears of these conflicts of being an agent and a principal or an investor at the same time, this show was custom made for you. After 347 episodes, we had really never talked about making a transition from a real estate agent or a broker into the investing side, but this is a great show for you if that's where you're at. So learn how to transition from the agent side of real estate investing, or how to add more investing into your business on today's show. You don't want to miss it. Please help me welcome Jeff Garner to the show. So Jeff, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, I know you got a lot of good stuff going on up in St. Louis and kind of the surrounding area. Maybe before we kind of dive into talking about the topics of today, you can tell us a little bit of your background and kind of how you got started.
Well, honestly, I've had family members my whole life involved in some level of real estate, mainly as real estate agents. My dad was a broker, and he started doing rehabs on the side because he was a very successful real estate broker, and so he ran across a lot of opportunities. And, there was times when I was 10, 11 years old, he'd drop me off the house with a buddy and a sledgehammer, pay us $3 an hour, and we get the demo, And so it's always something it's kind of in the blood. When I was 22, I got my real estate license, and it's really the only career I've ever had has been in some form or another of real estate. And like you said, between 97, when I got my real estate license, in 2000, I had pretty good success selling to investors. That was my niche. And I would go and make a $1,500 commission, and they'd show up to closing, double close it, and walk away with 20. I thought, you know what, something's not right here. And so that was kind of my insight into, okay, I get it. Now the next level is being an investor myself.
Yeah. Did you know? So when you said your dad was a broker, is that right?
Yes. Yep.
So was there a lot of talk at that point about this real estate investing side? Because I know now, like some statistics here are that about 20, I think the numbers are around 25% of the deals that kind of happen in America are roughly off the MLS. Like they're kind of in this underground community of real estate investors that a lot of people don't even know exist until you're a part of it, right? So was there like awareness, do you think, in your brokerage or as an agent, that of course there's investors out there, but that there's kind of this underground community that they just don't teach you anything about in a brokerage typically?
Well, honestly, it's in those days, HUD homes were big. So you could buy HUD homes. People weren't aware of them. People weren't, the billboard real estate agents, I like to call them, wouldn't dare walk into a HUD home. It would just ruin their image. Yeah. And so you had some bottom feeders like us that didn't care what it looked like because we knew there was a lot of money in it that really worked that market. And then, that was kind of the underground market then, was the ugly homes, the ones that, no one wanted to go through. And so we focused on every opportunity to get a hold of distressed property to sell to investors at first, VA, HUD, REOs, things like that. So I focused in that as a real estate agent. And that really helped me make my transition because I already knew the sources at that time. Now it's different now. It really is off-market stuff now. That, right. I think it evolved. We found that finding those ugly homes, finding the distressed properties, finding the distressed situations on market, whether it be through HUD, VA, or an REO listings, then we all evolved and said, okay, how do we get to them before they go to the HUD? How do we get to them before they go to VA? How do we get to them before they go to the banks? And I think that's more along what you're talking about, what's going on with us today, is we've evolved to where if it makes it to the MLS or HUD or VA or REO, it's been picked through from guys like us.
Right. And I think, investors have known this for a long time, that they can market directly to sellers that might be distressed, right? But I think at my house I get postcards every day. Of course, they're the nice fancy ones from agents that want to list my house. But I think the typical real estate agent would have never purposely targeted low end areas or distressed sellers that might want to sell at a discount. And my guess is that a lot of agents still today don't understand how big the opportunity is for people that they just for one reason or another don't want to list their house with a real estate agent. It's like the pawn business, right? Like, I could get more money if I sell this on eBay and take some fancy pictures and all that, or I can go to the pawn shop and be in and out in a half hour. Yeah, I got less money, but I'm done, right? I like trading in a car, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I believe, and Sean says this too, 90 to 95% of the market do not need us. They can list on the MLS. They have time. They have money. It makes more sense. But there's that 5 to 10% that makes a lot more sense to deal with us because of their distressed situations or distressed properties.
Yeah.
They can go in and get out. They need to move. They're in a financial situation, medical problem. And it's a matter of, you're right, an agent is not marketing for those people. There's no one but us.
Yeah. And sometimes agents market for us. They called us because they're like, well, I called an agent and they said I needed to do all this work to my house before I list it. And so I don't want to do that. And unbeknownst to the agent, there was another tool in their kind of toolbox that they could have used, which was to say, oh, you want a quick sale and you don't want to have to do anything. I've got an option for you. That's kind of what we're talking about today, is agents that can start moving in that direction of being a solution to a seller, which is a solution that they want. I mean, I think you know this better than me because I'm not an agent. My wife is an agent, but she's not. She really does it to facilitate our business. She's actually never listed a house for anybody else, but has sold hundreds of our houses. But that you're taught to kind of maximize the profit or kind of the sale price for the seller, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. As an agent, you are, and but there's situations like you said where they got to move fast, or and luckily for me, I have a network of agent friends that I've had for years. And they do find it as a handy tool, but they're not doing it themselves. They call me. They go, they find the house, and here's another scenario that people don't think of. You got a lot of elderly that are moving, and if you have a 75 or 80-year-old woman that's living alone, and you go into her house, even if it doesn't need a lot of work, sometimes it makes sense to call guys like us, because can that lady go for a walk 5 times a day with her dog for an hour whenever someone comes to show the house? They just can't. And there's scenarios
and clean it before you go on your walk.
Yeah, it's not possible. It makes sense to go our route because they're left alone. They don't have to, repair it, and they can move fast, and they love you for it. They know. I tell everyone, and I know you do too, Mike, we're not the best route if you need if all you're worried about is money, we're not the best option, but there's all these other things that we can help you with. And as far as the agent converting over, the mindset for an agent is, how do we do that and represent our sellers correctly? Like, they feel like there's a moral or an ethical dilemma there. And the truth is that sometimes you're doing them a favor. Sometimes you are helping them. Sometimes getting them an extra $1,500, but making them go through all the hoops to list it in the situation where it's an elderly person or someone whose house is in disrepair and they don't have a job and they can't make it a sale ready. You're doing them a favor by buying it. And as long as your disclosures are correct, as far as disclosing that you're licensed, disclosing, and if you want to take it the extra mile, I know some agents are right. I am buying this as an investor to resale for a profit. I
Yeah.
am a licensed agent. And what I used to do when I was still a big an agent, I'd have them handwrite something at closing. Hey, I understand that Jeff's licensed and I chose to go this route because it's best for me, or, something along those lines, just
Yeah.
to make myself feel better. Now, I stopped doing that because I realized I didn't have to. And it was a little unprofessional, I think. But that was just the paranoia that I had from years of being an agent and getting that drilled into my head. And the reality of it is I've sat with the real estate attorneys and went over this, and it's more you beat that into your head because the boards want you to just stay an agent and pay dues and fees, and that's how they make money,
And sell for top dollar.
And sell for top dollar. And,
Right.
I've walked out of many appointments and said, look, you don't need me. I will buy it, but I'm going to give you this. And I'm telling you right now, your house is way too clean and nice. You're not in a rush. You're perfectly capable of selling this. Call and give them a realtor referral. You're going to make 10 grand more. There's some situation where it goes the other way, and for an agent, if you're an agent, it's a way to do both. You can buy it or you can list it.
Yeah, you've bought a lot of houses. I bought hundreds of houses, and through coaching and stuff like that, I've been involved in thousands of transactions. I would argue that there's not one single house we've ever bought or contracted where the seller thought that we were the most profitable solution for them. Right? They wanted time and convenience. Right? They know that we're not a realtor that's gonna, they know that if they fix it up and they take their time, they could get more money. But in every one of those instances. And by the way, just to say it was 1,000 transactions. I don't know what it is. A lot more than that, probably across all my students and people that I've worked with. But it took tens of thousands of talking to sellers to get to those 1,000 transactions. Right? There's a lot of people that we weren't the right solution, and that was very clear. And the ones that did buy from us never thought we were the most kind of profitable route. They just said, "I want to be done." Are you looking to change your life through real estate investing? If you're interested in either getting started or taking your business to the next level, please check out FlipNerd's private program at theinvestormachine.com. This is the most robust real estate investor coaching, networking, and mastermind on the planet, and designed for your success. If you're ready to roll up your sleeves, ready to take personal responsibility for your own success, and ready to dive into a world-class instructional coaching program that provides you step-by-step instruction to help you achieve financial freedom, then you should apply today. Spaces are limited, and candidates are only considered after an application and interview process. Our 12-month investor program is unparalleled. Think you might be a fit? Learn more today at theinvestormachine.com. And the ones that did buy from us never thought we were the most kind of profitable route. They just said, "I want to be done."
Have you ever traded your car in and really thought you were getting the most money you could possibly get?
Never. Yeah.
But it's the convenience of it,
Yeah.
So
I use that example all the time because I actually about 5 months ago now, I got a new vehicle, and I had this Tundra that I had for like 7 years. And when I went to trade it in, I started looking behind my seats and under my seats, and like, I have a son that's 9 now, but there were still like Cheerios there from like when he was 4 or something. There's all sorts of stuff. I didn't even know I had that anymore. I lost that years ago. And they're like, "Well, what do you want to take out of your truck?" And I was like, "I got my garage door opener and some change in the thing." And I was like, they're like, "You can leave anything you want." And I was like, "I want to leave it all. Like literally, I don't want any of that."
Yeah, I don't have time to keep my car detailed, perfectly clean, market it on the internet, field the calls, and show it all the time. I'm too busy driving it. And so I can stop at the dealership, swap them out for a good, try to make the best deal possible and move on with my life. And I choose to do that. And then it's the same thing. And from an agent's perspective as well, it's, I lost my point. It'll come back to me.
Yeah. So with agents, let's talk about some of the opportunity, because, when you're just getting a commission here and there, obviously you saw some people getting bigger checks, maybe on some. wholesales. Let's talk a little bit about different exit strategies. I mean, I think every agent knows that you can buy a house and keep it as a rental. Every agent knows, and I'm using broad statements here of like agents because I know that some of you that are listening, they're agents, know far more than we're talking about here. Everybody understands kind of the fix and flip, right? But I think a lot of probably the largest portion of real estate investing that happens is kind of at the wholesale level, right? So there's an opportunity to buy a house well below market value, still mark it up well below market value, and make more money than you make in a commission, right? And it's fast and it's clean. And talk a little bit about, just kind of share your knowledge of wholesaling that the typical agent may not really quite understand.
Well, wholesaling is just basically, buying a property under market value, providing value to your seller in other ways besides, money, giving a fair offer, but providing other opportunities to your sellers that bring them value, whether it be speed and being able to close, whether it be taking their junk, helping them move, helping them find a place, closing fast. There's a lot of value in those things. So it's finding that, knowing you're getting it at a discount. All you got to do is clean it up. And since you're an agent, you have access to buyers. You might have your own buyers list. The strength for me as an investor is I knew exactly what buyers wanted because I've worked with so many of them. So I could see a property. And a lot of guys that are in real estate investing, that's all they've ever done. They really have to focus on their valuation and their comps and can we add a bedroom? Can we do this to bring value to a property? I could look at it and I could go, I could sell this all day long if it looked like this, if I did this, this, and this. Or I could see a house and go, no matter what I do to that house, I am not going to make it desirable to my buyers because I've been an agent for 10 years. I know what they're looking for. So as an agent, you might be able to see value in something that no one else can because you know the market, you know people's minds and what they're looking for. And so clean it out, remarket it as a property that has a lockbox on it that someone can go in and out of it whenever they want. And it's much more showable. It's much more sellable than when hoarders in it. When you buy it from that guy or when grandma's there and it's perfectly clean and she's an amazing woman. I love the grandmas. You know what I'm talking about. There's lots of them out there that we go see.
You like older women, right?
I like older women. What can I say? Yeah. Exactly. No, hey, I get it. You're right. I got you. I owe you one. And you're doing them a favor by getting them to wherever they need to be with the kids, in assisted living, and you're walking in the door, evaluating, giving them an offer that's fair to them. They agree. That's what they're looking for. Their family agrees. And you walk out. No one has to go back in that house until they close. They can have their privacy. They can have their time. It's done. So wholesaling is about buying it at a property that you see value in that others might not be able to, doing a favor for your seller by buying it in that condition, and then maybe cleaning it up or matching it up with a buyer that you know that would pay $5,000 more, $10,000 more, $15,000 more, and providing a service to the buyer that maybe they're a rehabber and they don't have time to market and spend $20,000 a month trying to find the right seller.
Find deals, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got a seller that might lose that house if you don't do this. So you actually save them from that, put money in their pocket, and match two people up, and you get paid for it. That's how I look at it. We are providing a service that we get paid for.
Yeah, one thing I think a lot of agents will understand, there's a lot of talk about home ownership rates, right? So we know that home ownership rates have been dipping over the past few years, and they're really not expected to kind of go back to where they were before because it's a little bit harder to get financing now. But if you think about the home ownership rate, I don't actually know exactly what it is right now, 62 to 65%, somewhere in that range. Well, what that means, the flip side of that is 35 to 37% of homes are rentals, right? So basically one in three homes in America is a rental, and that's owned by an investor. So literally a full third of the market is not the traditional owner occupant that a lot of agents are primarily only working with owner occupants. And I think the beauty, you can maybe share some thoughts on this, the beauty of working with investors and doing wholesale deals is that every wholesaler I know wants to do more than one deal. Like they want to do as many deals as they can a month, right? So you kind of build these relationships with people that you can get kind of repeat business from over and over and over again. You want to kind of share your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And I know I'm bouncing a little here, but you're making me think of all kinds of different perspectives that I've had throughout my real estate career as an agent and as an investor. And it's true. Here's one of the truths about me making the conversion to a full-time real estate investor is I got really burnt out on working with buyers and sellers. You got someone that's buying their only house they've ever bought, or they're selling their family home. And there's so much emotion in. You go by their schedule. People lie to you. They flake on you. You're not making as much money. It was really frustrating. And you don't build relationships because they're all one-offs.
Right.
I sold this person's house. Maybe 5 or 10 years from now, I'll do it again. So it can be a tense situation. You can do a lot of work for no money. And as an investor, when you meet a lot of these buyers want to buy as many as you can give to them. And so you can actually build relationships with those people. And it's a much more pleasant relationship because for one, they're paying cash, and two, if you know what they're looking for, most of my houses are sold within the first day because I already have 5 people in mind that would like that. They pay cash. They know as much about the business as you do. There's no hand holding, and it can be a relationship that goes on for 5 or 10 years that you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they love you too. They're happy you're making money, and you're happy they're making money. And it's a much more relationship based business than being just an agent.
Right. Yeah, I think you can scale it. I think so. Actually, before we started the show today, I sent out just a quick email to wholesale a house that we have here in the Dallas area, and I in about 5 minutes I created an email that I sent to 2,000 people. And the thing about investors is they're ravenous, right? Like they can't move fast enough because if they in this market, right? If you got a good deal, it goes like that. Instead of the traditional route of let me get all dressed up so I look nice and schedule an open house and hopefully somebody comes. It's like we do showings now because it creates it's almost like an auction atmosphere. Like it creates tension that people want to like beat each other out. So when we do this little showing thing here in a couple of days, I bet you there's 50 people there, and a bunch of them will have a check in their hand. So it's a more scalable business, I think.
Yeah, you need to send me what you're doing, that process that you're doing to get for that auction. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah, it's not really an auction, but I just when a bunch of wholesalers show up at a house wanting to look at a deal and they see that they might miss out, it's just that scarcity of I'll offer more, I'll take it faster, whatever they have to do. So
the market's crazy right now, man. The market is doing really, really well, and it is a good time.
So, why don't you talk a little bit about wearing 2 hats? So I think a lot of times, when I teach investors that are also agents that say, well, I can list houses, they're marketing for direct sellers, right? They're marketing directly to distressed sellers. And they think, well, if I can't buy it, then I'll list it. And so I often teach them like, well, don't, if it's real obvious, like they're never going to sell to you and they don't have enough equity or they don't have enough motivation, then maybe. Yeah. But you want to be careful to not shoot yourself in the foot because, as you know, a lot of the best deals come back after follow-up, right? So you don't want to prematurely list it when you could have. But maybe just talk about an agent and your experience playing both roles, wearing 2 hats. I'm an investor and I'm an agent. I can make money both ways, but just how to not there has to be a line there where you don't screw up the opportunity to get deals. Or even on the realtor side, there's probably a line that you don't want to cross. Like you said, there's some perceived ethical issues there as well. But maybe talk about that a little bit.
Well, that was a dilemma for me too. Is you walk into a property and it's borderline, and you want to buy it, but you're thinking, well, maybe they're not real interested in taking my price. Now maybe I ought to just flip this over to a listing and say, hey, let me list it for you because then at least I'll make something. And it's a dilemma because walking away from some money is hard. Walking away from some money, hoping for the bigger money is tough. But I had to make a decision, and I decided we don't go for the listing right away. We might do the listing on a follow-up down the road, when it's clear that they're not motivated to sell as is. So we wait on the follow up and try our luck. And the reality of it is I buy more deals that way, and the money I would lose in commissions is insignificant in the long term. As far as the ethical line, it's all about disclosure. If I am a full-time agent that buys on the side and I go into a property that I think would be a great opportunity to buy, you would have to present yourself as an agent that represents them, be honest with them on what the house is really worth today, but then you can throw out that option. Now let me, and it would go something along the lines of, now, hey, of this, and it would be, Mr. Seller, I know you probably want to get top dollar for your property, and I know you probably have no interest in selling it as is, but I am part of a real estate investment firm. We do buy properties as well. However you want. Mr. Seller, we either buy a couple a year, or we like to buy them too. Sometimes we find that it can be a better option for our sellers in your situation. It's totally 100% your choice. I just want to give you that opportunity. And if you do the math on the listing, this is where I think we're going to end at the end of the day. Here's what you're going to net out at. And if I buy it, here's how this math is going to work. And this is how you're going to net out. As you can see, the listing is going to give you a little more money. But I'm just being honest with you. For one, I'd love to list your property. I have no problem at all. But this is, besides the financial, the number you're going to get, this is what it's going to take. It's going to take properties on the market go an average of this many days. I believe you're going to have to do this much decluttering or work on the property to get ready to even make this much. And I think that there's a good chance the seller could beat you up this much. And most of the time, those numbers aren't too far apart. You fully disclose. You have your broker disclosure form that every state has that says that they know you're a seller's agent and you are completely, above board and in the black and covered both angles. And honestly, a lot of times they're going to consider that because the numbers aren't going to be real far off. They're really not, is what most people don't know. What you net, what we'll just pay for you buy your house for first day is usually 5-10% difference.
Especially for houses that are that need a lot of work, right? Like the ones that need a lot of updates that are like haven't been updated in 40 years, might have some structural issues, or truthfully as an agent, you can say with I'm not an agent, so just kind of disclose that one more time, but without any kind of qualms, is that to get your house ready for sale, to get top dollar, you would need to do this, and these things might be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 depending on the situation. Are you willing to get top dollar? Are you willing to kind of make that investment? And if you're not, then maybe you would, here's what you could get if you kind of did a quick sale type option, right?
Yeah, it's really the same process as when you go into a wholesale appointment, you're going through and you're evaluating the property and you're putting down all the repairs and how much it's going to cost, and you're netting out what you need to buy it for, and whatever that bottom line is with your profit, carrying costs, repairs, is going to be what you're going to offer. That process is not much different as a listing agent, except for if you're just trying to list it, you're really selling yourself. And if you're trying to buy it, you're selling the opportunity you provide. So, from an agent, if an agent's listening to this and they're wondering how they would do that, it's the same thing. You go in, you sell yourself and how you're good at what you do, and then you also you're building trust and rapport, and then if you feel like it would be a good fit for them to possibly sell directly to you, you're probably already telling them that, hey, this is probably going to be an investor that buys it, and I just want to make you aware that we also buy too, and sometimes that makes our sellers' lives a lot easier. So
Jeff, we got. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. No, I just want to make sure I answer the question.
Yeah. So we've got a few minutes left here. So any kind of other things that you want to share in terms of agents that are out there? I know we've kind of predominantly talked about agents, but it really could be anybody. In terms of getting started, like how to kind of bridge that gap, because some people are so set in their ways of they're just, life is busy and this is what I'm doing today, and it's hard to just like shift gears, But it's not like you have to do it all tomorrow. But in terms of making that transition, I mean, any kind of advice or thoughts you have?
Well, I'll just throw out there, just some thoughts that are just coming to me right now. My process was my process. I slowly merged into it over time. And to be honest with you, when 2008 came, it made it real easy. One of the hard things for a successful real estate agent is like, for example, if someone worked at Boeing and they made 80 grand a year, to quit that job to take the leap to be full-time investor is scary and hard. Even though you could make quadruple that, but it's hard because you're there. And it was the same for me, and it's probably the same for any other real estate agent. Do I walk away from making 50, 100, 150 in commissions, even though I don't like it or it's not my passion? It's hard to do. So I would say if you're there, unless you want to make the leap, it's worth it. The leap is worth it. It takes time and it's scary, but if you want to transition, maybe do it the same way I do my wholesaling and offer the listing on follow up. But maybe you go in there and you get the listing and you sense that they really want it to be on the market. And sometimes we take listings, and any agent listing knows what I'm talking about. They might not want to admit it, but they do. They take listings that they know are not going to sell at that price, but they're making their seller happy and hoping that they'll drop the price after they see what's really going on. So maybe you start working that into either your pitch when you go in to meet with the seller, that here's option B. We can go with the listing and there's option B, and then leave it alone. Maybe bring it up in a month or two if they're struggling to sell. That option's there, or not even bring it up in the beginning and just start rolling it into your follow up. Like when you would get back with them in a month, 6 weeks, 2 months to say, hey, we need to adjust this price. Say, as you can see, Mr. Seller, the market's telling us that it's too high. Maybe we should, lower the price. And here's an option two. My company also buys properties, and we can, depending. That'd be one way to ease into it. Another way would be start going to your RIAs and your real estate investment clubs and things like that, and start making relationships with investor buyers. Then start looking for property for them and get your feet wet that way and watch the process from the outside, as an agent. And that's how I did it too, is I started working with investors to help them find property. And then a lot of times I'd make deals with them. If I find you a property, obviously I get the commission, but I get to list it afterwards. I built relationships like that. And I watched them and I learned. And then eventually I partnered with one of them to do a house. And that's how I got my first one under my belt.
Yeah. I think it's like anything. Once you do a deal or two, you start to get that level of confidence, right? That this is how it's different, or this is how it works. So sometimes, even though there's people all over the country doing it, or people all over your market doing it, until you actually kind of see it yourself, I've seen that with a lot of folks that I kind of coach. And for me, it's as obvious as it's clear as day, like how things work. And after they do one deal, they're like, oh, okay. Like they kind of get it. It's like, okay, you knew that because you have experience, but until somebody kind of sees it and they put money in their pocket, and then they're like, okay, let's do that again. Right.
It's scary. And I would, if I was to give any advice to any agents, is trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. It's really easy to go into someone else's house and say, I know for a fact it'll sell for this. And you're generally right. But it does work the same for yourself. I know when you're thinking about making that transition to do it yourself, it's scary as hell and you start doubting yourself. But the reality of it is if you're an agent and you've had some level of success, you have an insight that no one else has. And you need to trust your instincts. And if you're ready to take that plunge, you think you found a property, and you take the emotions out of it, to yourself, this property will sell for this much. If I can buy it for this much, I know I'll make money. It's true. Just do it. And like, you just said, Mike, once you're putting that check in your pocket, you'll never turn back.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jeff, if folks want to learn more about you, I know that you're active in the St. Louis area and on the East St. Louis side, Illinois side. And you have some groups that you set up for wholesaling. But tell us a little bit more about that, and then how folks can, if there's any other ways folks can get a hold of you or learn more about you.
Yeah. Anyone, if you guys have anyone on here ever has any questions or need any help with anything, you can just email me directly, jeff@startingpointre.com. So it's jeff@startingpointre.com. My company is Starting Point Real Estate. If there's any agents in the area that are run across deals, they don't know what to do with them, they can call us. We buy them. We pay a full commission. Your seller doesn't have to pay the commission. You end up looking like a hero in the end because you sold it first day and told them not to worry about paying you. You do it for free because we're going to put it on top and pay you. Secondly, really, I would love to get as many people on my buyers group on Facebook as possible. So if anyone out there is looking for buy and hold, flip properties in my area, St. Louis, we have a page called St. Louis Wholesale Properties, and we have another page for Illinois, which is Illinois Wholesale Properties. And I want to get buyers on there that are either A, seasoned buyers, or B, looking to make that next plunge. We do about 10 to 12 deals a month, so there's going to be 10 to 12 opportunities that come up on that page a month to buy property. And I did it so that emails, people get sick of emails. Some of us get 100 a day. I know I do. And and another thing is on Facebook, I'm a member of a lot of different people's pages, and I get blown up with notifications all day long, and it's kind of becoming like email. I don't even look at them. And so I thought, you know what? I'm sick of that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put all my properties the day I get them out there on the wholesale page. I'm not worried about emailing anybody, nothing. Let's go on this wholesale page. I made it a closed group so that no one can chat about the house. No one can say anything. So if you get a notification from my page, it's literally because we just posted a property. And if you're interested, you message us. There's going to be nothing else on there. So we're trying to cut out a lot of the extra chat and spam and things like that, and say, if you're a member of these groups and you in these two groups, St. Louis Wholesale Properties or Illinois Wholesale Properties, you will get opportunities on wholesale deals, and that's it. So you know that you're not just adding another group that you're going to get to hear about people's opinions on any and everything out there in the world.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll find those pages and we'll get links down below in the show notes here for anybody that's interested. So Jeff, hey, thanks for spending some time with us today, my friend.
Hey, Mike, I really appreciate the opportunity. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, great to see you. I'm sure I'll be seeing you again soon, and really appreciate it for everybody that joined us today. Thanks so much. Again, this was episode number 347. We're going to keep them coming. So keep watching, keep listening. We appreciate you all. And you can see all of our shows. And by the way, our other show too, REI Classroom, we have another show that we publish daily. And so you can see all that on FlipNerd.com. So everybody, thanks for joining us today. Have a wonderful week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the FlipNerd.com Investing Show. If you're not yet an elite member of FlipNerd, you're missing out. We have tons of great training, including a new detailed masterclass published each month and live training webinars with experts twice a month. Plus, you'll get access to all of our archives, where we already have a growing library of masterclasses and other training videos. Elite members also get membership in our incredible online mastermind group, where many of the top real estate investors from across the country, including many of the hundreds of guests I've had on the show in the past, are already members. Whether you're brand new, looking to get started, or a veteran, you simply must join today. I promise you won't be disappointed. To learn more or join today, please visit flipnerd.com/lab. That's flipnerd.com/lab. See you on the next show.